Thrash is the word.
Hey, welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier. And like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. The guest for this episode is Prika, the co-founder and guitarist of the all-women thrash metal band Nervosa. They just released their killer new album, Perpetual Chaos, via Napalm Records. Y'all, it was great talking with her. During our chat, we talked about the new album, which includes a whole new lineup with women, that came all across Europe, because previously it was all Brazilian, all-women thrash metal band, but they have a new lineup now. The new album is sick. And then she talks about, being a role model for young women that want to get into heavy music, but then also being a role model for, women in Brazil, also young women in Brazil, and we talk about the realities about, in living in Brazil these days. So it was a really fun interview. It was great to talk with her. Nervosa is one of my favorite bands. I did see them probably about 5 years ago in Lansing. Right when we talk about it in the interview, but right when I discovered who they were, I was like, yo, they kick ass. So it was awesome to talk with Prika. Oh yeah, we're still in weird times now. Just getting along with the pandemic. These days, I see that the hugely successful, South Korean zombie thriller Train to Busan is getting a U.S. remake. For a movie that centers around being in a high-speed rail system, let's hope this remake is still based in Korea. Like, if it's in the U.S., it's going to be on an Amtrak with noisy kids, meth heads, and it's going to have stops in towns that people of color should not visit. And if it was in Detroit, it would be on the People Mover. If anybody that knows about the People Mover will know how ridiculous. On to some other news. FX has this new series called Hip Hop Uncovered. It's a examination of the dying breed of the power brokers who kind of operate within the shadows of hip hop. Like, they're the enforcers and whatnot. And it's starring, Trick from Detroit. So that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about. No jokes, because I don't want to get my ass kicked. But speaking of Trick, he was subject to, him and his crew back in the day beating up, Florida rapper Trick Daddy. And Trick Daddy's been in the news lately. He got arrested for having cocaine and other stuff. But have you seen the mugshot photo of him? It still looks like he's recovering from that original beatdown from Trick and his crew, way back in the day. But yeah, besides that, things are, going well these days. I'm still working on my Twitch show that's going to come soon. It's going to be about obscure Detroit hip hop records. Super psyched. I recently had a leak in my apartment, so I was forced to kind of move some stuff around. It wasn't a big leak, but it was a ceiling leak, because of the snow, all the snow that we got, and it was melting and getting backed up. But it forced me to move things around a little bit in my apartment, and it actually turned out for, the best. So if life gives you stinky lemons, make some stinky lemonade. So I'll have more information about that real soon. Other than that, everything seems to be cool. Let's get into this interview now after a word from our sponsor with Prika from Nervosa. And remember, Black lives still matter. Before we start this podcast, I want to definitely remind you of a sponsor for Fresh of the Word, 20 by 20 Apparel. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel brings original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the bloopers, bleeps, and body slams along with the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest. In the world of wrestling, where there's hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads, don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all the tees in-house. So if you'd like to discuss a possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, or even Zubaz, then drop them a line at 20by20apparel.com. That's the number 20x, the number 20apparel.com. And also check out their enamel pin line. It's super cool. All right, welcome back to the Fresh is the Word podcast. And like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. And for this episode, have an awesome person for this episode. Got Prika, a member of the thrash metal band Nervosa. I've been a fan of this band for a long time. We were just talking before recording how, because I got a Nervosa shirt on right now, and it was 5 years ago that I got into this band, and a week after I found out about them, they were in Lansing, Michigan, playing at I think it was Max Bar, and they were on tour with this other band called Suspended. It was an all-woman band also, and they kicked ass. Suspended kicked ass. I've been a fan of theirs ever since. But they're back with a new lineup and a new album, Perpetual Chaos. Got Prika here. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm fine. And of course, we are in the middle of the pandemic situation. But for the other side, I'm in Brazil. It's summer now. There's a sun and hot weather, so everything is fine.
So, you got the new lineup right now. And before, it was you guys were a Brazilian all-women thrash metal band, but now with the new lineup, it's international. You got women from, still all women, but you got they're from Europe, all different parts of Europe. What was the motivation behind the lineup change? Was there new energy that needed to be brought to the band? What was sort of what was behind the decision for just the lineup change?
I think it was a decision that everyone wanted, because we were not working well with the old lineup. We have such a lot of difference, in many things, in almost everything. We think it completely different. We want it completely different, and we like things completely different. So it was a very hard years to find a point, and everyone can agree. The unique point that we have in common was the dream to live it from metal. Just these, as all the rest are completely different. So it was something that happened naturally because we were be far from each other. Yeah, it's something normal when we don't have the same intention. And I think it was the best decision for them and the best decision for New Nervosa. And I was looking for girls in the South of America and Europe, because it's where the most of the band is. And I have a citizenship from Europe as well. So for me, it's easy to move into Europe, and it's not a problem. But I was not looking for a European lineup. I was looking for a good musicians that thinking exactly like me, but living in Europe or in the South of America, but happen that all the girls be in Europe. And I think it's a very rich experience to change the different cultures. But of course, we are very familiar with the cultures, except in Spain and Italy, because it's a biggest immigration in Brazil, example, together with the Portuguese. But I still consider it's a Brazilian band, because Nervosa born in Brazil and rising in Brazil, and our history start here. And Brazil, it's a mix of the world, all the cultures of the world. So I think now Nervosa, it's a Brazilian, European, world metal band, something like that.
Nice. Yeah, and the type of music that you do, it's really popular in those places. So like it makes sense that you got musicians from, you know, those places. Do you think you know, looking back to the previous album before the band the you know the lineup change, you know, do you feel like, do you have any thoughts about that album? Do you feel like they were you know, there was anything you guys could have done better? Do you feel like you were on the same page you know, during the downfall of a Mankind album?
I think the new album brings a new energy, and we could do a better job because when you have a new energy, you know, everything's work better. This is for everything. This is better, you know. And of course, all the girls were so happy with this opportunity. And we will live a beautiful moments and beautiful days in Malaga. In the middle of the pandemic situation, we were in the middle of the paradise, living a dream. So there's no reason to be sad, you know? That's why we did a party every night. And this will be unforgettable for our lives forever. This is the most beautiful thing, you know? And this was I was expecting. So I just wanted to bring back the the roots of Nervosa for this new album. Some surprise as well, because the Downfall of Mankind, it's a album. It's very special for me. I really like, but there is too much death metal influence there.
Yeah.
What I like it, but I didn't want to bring it more to be more death metal than thrash. You know,
Yeah.
I like the equilibrium. So for me, Downfall of Mankind it was the maximum of the death metal, you know, from the band.
Right.
The idea is to be a thrash metal band with the influences from death metal. And now, for the first time, you could bring influence from black metal as well. There is a little bit of the black metal there. And example, we could bring back the punk, you know, vibes and some songs like A Time to Fight and Rebel Soul that has Motorhead vibes. And I think we were more concerned to have diversity in our album.
On the new album, Perpetual Chaos, what's, you know, what did everybody kind of, what was sort of the things that you like from the new members that really impressed you? Like, what did they bring to the table? What was that sort of fresh energy that they all brought?
I think, you know, the honesty they bring it to the band, it means a lot to me. And our friendship was huge because, you know, everyone is talent. Everyone is able to do something good. But when you have a really good friendship, good moments, you know, and really worried to live something really good with no problems, you know, I think this is the main thing. And we construct this together. The girls understand everything in the band and what I, you know, give value. And they give value for the same. So that's why the things works very well. They bring a lot of inspiration for me because I admired all of these girls. Example, I never think to put a black metal in the band. You know, I like a black metal, but not too much. Just some bands like Behemoth, and other kind of things. But I was thinking to give something for Diva and Mia. That they have a lot of influence from black metal. So that's why they inspired me to create riffs like a example in one song called it Blood Eagle. There's a riff that's completely black metal, like this is Behemoth. So yeah, they bring it influence. And Eleni is an awesome musician. She's able to play everything. So I could create everything because she's able to play. and she's able to do everything. And she's a very creative person and very open. She likes many style and many different bands, and this bring a lot of good things to the band as well.
Did you know any of them, or were you friends with any of them before they joined the band?
Yes, I knew just Diva because she played with Nervosa with her band The Bloody Hunter in Spain for 4 or 5 shows in 2019. So I met her in person. We have a fast talk, but it was a good one. And I start to follow her on social medias because she impressed me in live shows a lot with her powerful voice, And me, example, I just knew her on internet. We never talked before, but since she joined to ABBA, I was so a huge fan of her, because her looks is awesome. She plays very well. And the lady the same. I just knew her on internet and started to follow, but I never talked with her before.
You were just saying how like how great the musicians they were. You could like just they could play anything, whatnot. What was sort of like the recording process like for you, and just coming up with ideas and sharing it with them? And how did that compare to the previous lineup?
Uh, you mean about the process to write the new album?
Yes.
And I think before was like everyone, like individual persons, put their ideas there, and I take individual ideas and put everything together. Now we work more like a group, I compose in the riffs to be good for the voice, to be good for the bass, to be good for the drums, and thinking like what the music is together, not separately. I think we're working more like a group because we agree, we agree with everything. We understand the place of everyone. And I think this is the biggest difference.
I know you being the constant of this band, keeping it together this long. These are new members. Have they been comfortable with sharing criticisms with each other and with you?
Oh yes, this was one of my tests, because what the people is when you critical, you give some critical stuff, and when you goes against opinion or something like that. And I did this just to see the reaction, because this is a very important point, and the personality of the people is there. And they were very, easy, and they say yes, of course. No, I'm ready to do what is the best for the band. I'm open for opinions. Yeah, it's okay, no problem, And I say, yes, this is exactly what I want. I don't want to be like a dictator. I want everyone do what I want. Not this
Right.
at all, because I'm very open for change. But it's very necessary when you give some advice, because I'm not asking anything. I'm just giving a advice. Can you do, or could you do something different? Let's try something. It's not do this or do that. No, it's
Right.
not this way.
Yeah, let's
It's
try
work.
this. Yeah.
It's work really together, and you have to understand the intention and the way to say that. If I'm saying, yeah, would you try different things? What do you think? And the girls say, yes, I really love it. I think this is better. Yeah, let's go there. Or if the girls say, I prefer before, and I say, yes, we can do before as well. I just thinking that could be better, but yeah, I agree, it's not better. So it's just something that we can work together.
Right. And kind of extending on that, how do you sort of yourself like accept ideas and criticism from the other bandmates?
For me, I live this since of the beginning of the band, and I think this make a part to be a musician. And it's better for us to listen the critic, because this make you grow and make you know what you can do better. Of course, there's some critical, it's with a bad intention, we have to ignore, of course. But I think we are all adults, and I'm not so much young girl. I have 35 years old. I have experience, and I know the difference between a good and bad intention. But I think it's very necessary, the crit, because without this, you will be just ego, and will never will grow.
We're in like a year of this pandemic, and so how did you guys put this album together during it?
Look, Nervosa, from the last 3 years, we're working with a distance because each of us live in a different cities
Oh yeah.
and different regions of Brazil and very, very far. And for me, it was the same. It was something new for the new girls, but I just have to explain how it works because they never worked with a distance before. So I just say, how it works. And after the first song, it was the last test for Nervosa. It was compose a song together. And this song is Venomous, the opening song for the album. And after this, everything's worked very easy, very easy. And we were in the middle of the pandemic situation. We were not working. We were blocked in our house with a full time. So that's why we could do it so fast. So, example, I went to Italy and I stayed there for 1 month completely alone in quarantine because I came from Brazil, and I composed 10 songs there, in 1 month. So, when you have a free time and good energy, everything's works easy.
Outside of the stuff that actually makes the album, how much more material, just riffs, ideas do you have like in your vault, just like in your phone or in your computer or whatnot?
Yeah, look, like a musician, like a composer, we always have many ideas. But I'm not a super organized person, and all my ideas are lost, like in a different place and everything. It's a kind of mess. But for this new album, I left everything behind, and I really want to create everything in that moment. So I create everything uh, from the zero, you know.
Yeah, for this album, you also worked with producer Martin Furia again, who's worked with you in the past. What does he bring to the table when putting this thing together?
Look, he's a very important guy for the band. He is the fifth member of Nervosa, maybe, because he's working with Nervosa from many years. Now it's something around 5 years. He did a lot of tours with us in live shows. He's our sound guy and our tour manager as well, and our producer. And in the album Downfall of Mankind, I missed more participation of him in the band because he's awesome producer. He always bring a lot of inspiration for us. He knows exactly how to take the best from us. And from for this change in a band, it was very important to have someone with us that brings a lot of security, you know, and brings a lot of good vibes to contribute with these, to be better and better. And he has many good ideas and always giving the right advices and always working with a maximum energy for the band. And that's why I called it him again and gave to him more space, because he deserved it. And Nervosa needs this kind of help as well. And it was a very good work together and very important.
All these years, different lineup changes. What keeps you, wanting to keep this band and this name, going, keep it going after all these years?
I really want to have fun, with these girls on the road. For me, the most important thing that has more value for me is make a friend. Doesn't matter if we are playing with a big band or a small band. It's having fun and have friends around the world. And and I think this girls has this really feeling, you know, and they really want the same. And I love it. I love it because I miss it to party, to do some jokes, to be funny and to laugh, to enjoy the life. Come on, we are very lucky, to have the opportunity to travel around the world doing metal. This is incredible. So there is no way for me to be unhappy. So I really expected that we can be together for many years, to wrote many good albums, to have fun with our fans and our friends, and live this forever.
Was the original idea for this band to, always be an all women band, and how important was it for this to just be an all women band?
I was playing in another project called Inner Voices. It was a male band, death metal band, and we were looking for a drummer. And then I knew the the founder of Nervosa together with me. It was Fernanda Terra, our first drummer, and she told me, "Yes, your band is good, but I really want to start a female band. What do you think?" And I think, whoa, this is amazing. If I have the most difficult stuff is have a female drummer, on metal, because in that season, I mean, 11 years ago, it was not common,
Right, right.
because all the most part of the female metal drummers now are very young, you know. So they are a child in that season, 11 years ago. So I never knew any good female drummer, good, I mean professional. And I say, yes, let's do it, And then we start a female band. And then I had idea to put a Nervosa name because it's a female word. Example in Portuguese, we have a gender for the words. And Nervosa means angry girl. Example for angry boy, example will be nervoso.
Yeah.
But nervosa it's for female. So that's why there is no sense to put a man in the band. Otherwise, we will be very funny, you know.
Right, right.
and and now from these days, we are, I think, one of the symbol for the female musicians around the world. And I saw this importance when we split the band. I received 1,000 uh, many messages around the world from many girls asking me, please don't give up because we need a Nervosa. Nervosa, it means a lot for the females around the world. And I say, Nervosa will never die. This never passed in my mind. Just wait that I will announce it a really good female lineup, but everyone was a kind of tense, because it's hard. It's hard. But when I came with the new lineup, I saw many people really emotional, with this. And then I understand how much Nervosa is important from for the girls around the world. And that's why I never think to put a man in this band. We have to go to the end like a female band.
Yeah, extending on that, 'cause, yeah, that's definitely where I wanted to go next. Is like the importance of this band to young women out there, women of all ages wanting to be in music. When was that first time that you kind of realized that this band is important for the girls out there, for the women out there that want to be a musician of any kind?
Yeah, I realized this more strong when the band split, but I think when we did the first tour in Europe, it was in 2015, I saw the importance for the Latin American scene, because never any female band in Latin America has too much attention and too much opportunity. And we felt we were very lucky, and we were a very strong symbol for the Latin Americans, And all the girls constantly in all the shows, they came and say, "You are an idol for us. We could get and could, do things that any woman never could do before." And a lot of things that for me it's very hard to believe that, because I'm in the place different, and I was thinking, no, this is not possible. Maybe there was another female band that could do something, but just break it very early. I don't know everything. And but I always listen this with love, because I felt it was very honesty. And I think uh, we were realizing with the time and with the things that we were doing.
Down in Latin America, what's sort of like the reality for young women when trying to follow their passions in music or any sort of arts? Is there opportunities? Like what sort of obstacles do they have to deal with?
I think not just about metal. I think about music and culture in general. In Latin America, it's very hard because we are in a poor region. Of course, the conditions of Brazil is a little bit better than other countries in Latin America, uh, but it's still not compared with Europe or with the USA. We have a huge misery in our country. We have a very strong traffic of drugs, and a lot of very violent mafias here, gangs and everything. I know the USA suffered a little bit or a lot about this too, but it's a kind of different,
Yeah.
because if you want to be honest, if you want to work and try a life example, our salary, our the minimum salary, it's not enough to pay a house,
Yeah.
you know, and it's very unfair, and the corruption, it's insane. I know there is a corruption in all the countries around the world, but in Latin America, it's insane, insane,
Right.
And I can give you example for the World Cup in Brazil, example when they were just building some stadiums. Example, with the 4 million reais, you can build an example a stadium, right? But in Brazil, they expended 500 billions to
Right.
building a stadium. This is insane. It's not something like that happening in around the world. Like, okay, the cost is 4 millions, and then they expand 10 millions. No, it's 500.
And then for the
It's
World Cup, they let it rot afterwards.
it's insane. It's insane. It's insane. The violence here, it's huge. Example, I had a situation some years ago with a gun in my face in the middle of the street in the afternoon. They stole my motorcycle. Example, I had another experience, and I stay with a gun in my back. On the street as close to my house, and I live in a good neighborhood. It's not bad at all, but the violence in everywhere, sadly. So it's hard for us to live it from music, to live it from everything. The life here, it's not easy. It's just easy if you are a rich people, of course.
Yeah.
You can pay for everything, everything is fine.
Yeah.
But if you have to fight for something, you have to stay with a lot of, you know, force, with a lot of power, because it's a very strong battle.
Yeah, like here in the States, of course, like in some of the more impoverished, poor neighborhoods in America, yeah, like there's a lot of crazy shit that goes on. But for the most part, like Americans can have that little bit of a buffer where we can go out and do normal things and not expect a any sort of violence or an explosion to come up. But like places like where you're from, like you can go down and try to get a coffee, and it's possible there might be this huge a bomb or a big shooting or something. Like that's like kind of on the edge of your mind, like a lot of different different places around the globe. So like that's kind of like a difference that like we have here.
Exactly. I had opportunity to travel and do a tour in a whole USA. I mean, all around, not in the middle. But yeah, our first tour came from the Seattle to Florida example, and then another tour came from Florida to the north of Canada to Vancouver example. And I have opportunity to know many places in USA, and I have to say that 90 to 90% I felt security. I know that you have some problems in some regions and some cities. Example, I know there are some problems in San Francisco as well, because they have a problem with the drugs. There's some people living on the street. There's some violence. There's some gangs. I
Yeah.
know that this exists, but it's just a region. Except for if you go for another city in the middle of USA, it's completely safe, and other places not so far from San Francisco, example, because it's big city. Normal big city has some problems.
Yeah.
But in Brazil, doesn't matter if you are in a small city or if you are a big city, if you are in the middle of Amazonia, or if you are 5 hours flighting in São Paulo, example, with the 22 million people, the violence will be the same,
Right.
And I think USA still have opportunity for you be different. If you want to work, we can, earn money honestly, and you can pay your bills. But in Brazil, in Latin America mainly, because Brazil have a little bit better situation than the other countries. But there are some countries that they live in a real misery, and almost everyone, like Bolivia example, it's a very poor country, very poor. And the situation there and many parts of the Latin America, it's very sad, you know they are living really misery. And I'm thinking, it's, if the Latin America is this way, I can't manage how is some places in Africa example, that we know that is worse. And this is, it's very sad. And this gave us a lot of, angry feelings, and this make us to write political lyrics as well.
Yeah, that's what I want to get to next. Is like, how did sort of those like real life, scenarios, the realities of being in Brazil, sort of contribute to the lyrics, the sound of the music that you make?
Yeah, I think uh, we like to put the finger in the faces of the politicians because they are all wrong, and this brings a lot of inspiration, sad inspiration. We would like to talk about other stuff, but it's impossible. We are seeing many unfair stuff, It's our reality. And it was something that I was explaining for the new girls, the situation in Brazil and how it's important for us, um, you know, to talk about this stuff and how the things works in Latin America, because this was the idea since of the beginning when we created the band, to have uh, punk lyrics with a thrash metal, with a death metal influence.
Yeah.
This was the mini idea. So for us, it's very important, and the girls understand it completely. And because the reality that they live is completely different, you know. Europe, it's another world. They are super safe there. There is no guns there, you know. The violence is just stolen some wallets and nothing too much different from that, you know. In my city example, I live in a small city, like a 200,000 people living here. It's a small city, and they explode the bank to stealing the money, you know, from the 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 machines. And it's a common. This is happening everywhere. So this has never happened in Europe. So it's completely different. And when I explain the situation, they start to feel, you know, angry. You know, yes, we have to talk about it. And yes.
You know, how quick were they able to, grasp onto that sort of idea? Did they, have to do their own sort of, is there anything that you showed them to sort of really get the idea, behind, besides your own stories?
um, for this new album, we also could bring good vibes. Like, for example, for The Time to Fight, it's a song that we are saying for everyone be united because we are living a very hard moment in all the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's time to fight against this politics that it's not giving attention and making many people die because of their behaviors. Something like that, you know. But it's just good in giving a um, good vibration and a good, you know, pushing everyone to fight it together against this. An example for the Rebel Souls. Rebel Souls, it's also about to be proud for who we are, because all of us that like rock and metal, we are all Rebel Souls, you know. There's, and you know, let's have
Yeah.
fun and let's be proud for who we are. And you know, there's a lot of prejudice from many people about rock because everyone that like rocks use drugs or you know, or bullshit like that. Everyone
Right.
is completely Satanist, you
They've been
know,
saying this since the
some bullshit.
80s. Like, come on. Get over it.
Come on. The life is short. Let's enjoy it. Drink some beer. Stop to say bullshit like this. You know, this is Rebel Soul. And of course, there's other lyrics like Blood Eagle, example, talks about the ritual in the series Vikings. You know, the Viking series. Yeah,
Yeah.
the worst sacrifice is called it Blood Eagle, and we did this lyric. It's such different of everything that Nervosa did before, but it was fun, you know, and it was a good opportunity to do something different. An example, there is another lyric called Pursued by Judgment. This, it's not a political stuff, but like human behaviors, mainly in the internet, uh, you know, century of the internet that we are living, and talks about you judge the people, you know. It talks about a true history that happened in here in Brazil. Example, a girl was accused to be a pedophile, and all the neighborhoods punched her to death, and she died.
Wow.
But after that, the police discovered that she was completely innocent, and everyone killed someone because of gossip
Yep.
of the internet judgment, you know. And I think we are, it's very, you know, radical posture, and you know, this is not being good. Of course, there are some cases, you know, uh, that we really have to do something, but before to prove something, it's not fair, you know, and it's a behavior that everyone is doing, and it is being normal on the internet. We judge someone and we, you know, like kill someone, and yeah, take it easy. Let's see if it's true.
Right, right.
And if it's true, okay, you can delete the people from your life, okay, but this is too much. So it's a different topic from the political stuff, but in the human behavior, we are always mixing political and human behavior.
If you didn't have so much like, material to sort of get from that like human behavior and the political stuff, like what other stuff do you wish you could like write about?
Good question, because it's something that I really need to thinking about for the next album example, but I don't have anything in my mind for now. And I really want to, and I really like it to give the feeling came in naturally, what I'm feeling in that time that I'm composed the songs. I just open my mind and I let the things came, naturally.
Right. Yeah, as we wind things down here, sort of, we talked about this before, but what sort of, advice would you give to any young girls that are just, want to be, become a musician, or they just picked up your CD, or they saw you on the internet, saw your videos on the internet? What sort of advice would you give any sort of young girl, or even, any women who are, adults, in their 20s, or whenever, and they want to just do something, but they're like too scared to do it, because of the things that are, the obstacles that women face, in even their own society? What sort of advice would you give them?
I think the first step is to have clear in their minds what they really want, and then trusting in yourself and never give up, and do everything with love, with a real love. If you are trying to do something because you want to be better from the others, or just to exhibition yourself or something like that, stop it. Go to do something different, because you suffer, because always will have someone better than you, and this is something normal, and if you are the best today, you cannot be tomorrow, and this is life, and music is not about competition, it's about love. And yeah, but it's important you have clear in your mind what do you want first, because example, I want to live from the music, it means something. And if you want to be a musician and be recognized like a musician, it's other stuff. Of course they can be together, but if you just want to be recognized like a musician, this doesn't mean that you don't need to let your job, example, you can have your band and have a side job, example, it's okay, it's not a problem. But of course, if you want to live from the music, you have to be ready to let everything behind and put your own forces and all the energy for this happen. So this is the first step, to have clear in your mind what do you want. And then anyways, what your decision and what do you want, just make with love. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
How important is it to have, other women in your life when you're making a journey like you did? Whether it's being in a band with other women or just having supportive friends.
Yeah, today, because of the internet, again, everything is because of the internet, but it's true. I couldn't know many female awesome musicians, and I think we have a lot of very important uh, females in a metal. Example, Doro Pesh, of course, she's came from the beginning. She's very important and one of the biggest one, maybe the biggest. And uh, now we have a really good guitarists like Nita Strauss from Alice Cooper, example,
Yeah.
Orient from Michael Jackson project, and there's the Iron Maidens, the cover, all female cover from Iron Maiden example, and Burning Witches, that is awesome band, heavy metal band, female band, and we have many other bands. And the future, I think, on metal is in the woman's hand, the women's hand, you know. And I think we are bringing something different, not just about the image, like we are woman and that's why we are different. No, I think the way that we compose it is different, you know. The tone of the voice is different. The way that we play guitar, we play drums is different. And I think this is beautiful. And I think everyone is starting to understand this. And I think it's awesome.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Prika, for taking time to talk with me. Where can people go online to get more information about Nervosa and the new album, Perpetual Chaos?
Yes, thank you, first of all, for this opportunity to talk with you and to have fun, you know.
Yeah.
Even if we are in a video call, it was very fun to talk with you and change ideas. And yeah, we have our official web store, nervosastore.com, and there you can find our merchandise around the world and everywhere. And each country we have some, store. Or if we don't have our store in Brazil and in Europe, we send it for the whole world as well. But we have the page, example, for Napalm Records, America.com.
Yeah.
And you just put in Nervosa there, you will find everything about Nervosa and USA. And yeah, our social medias is Facebook.com, Nervosa, and Instagram.com, Nervosa Thrash. And please subscribe it in our channel on YouTube, because we will release a lot of videos. It's the way that we found to make the fans, interacting with us, and to give some gift for our fans as well.
And introduce them to the new members also, yeah.
Exactly. We will release a lot of videos there, so stay tuned there. Our YouTube channel, it's Nervosa Thrash. So yes, just say thank you so much for everyone for the support for new Nervosa. We are super happy with all the good feedbacks that we are receiving.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh is the Word podcast, hosted and produced by myself, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, empowered by Anchor at anchor.fm/Fresh is the Word. Fresh is the Word theme music provided by Steve O. You can find more of his productions at iamsteveo.bandcamp.com, and that's EYEAMSTEVEO.bandcamp.com. Fresh is the Word is available on all major streaming platforms. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. If you want to support Fresh is the Word, please consider pledging via Patreon at patreon.com/FreshIsTheWord. Follow Fresh is the Word on social media, on Twitter at Fresh is the Pod, on Instagram at Fresh is the Word Podcast, and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Fresh is the Word. For more information about Fresh is the Word and our other podcasts, Breaking Records and Renaissance Soul, and a collection of pop culture articles and reviews, please visit freshasthepodcast.com. Thank you for listening and your support. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.